Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today, we're talking about the Toy Dome Collectible Show in Wilmington, Delaware. This is like a firehouse toy show. I tend to use that as a reference of size, right? There's like convention hall, there's fire hall, there's hotel lobby, right, or hotel ballroom type conventions. And every different type of toy show and collectible show has its own merits. And generally, something like a firehouse show has a lower table price. So sometimes you get vendors who aren't necessarily like career vendors, and sometimes that's where you find some good deals. I drove down to Wilmington, Delaware, hang out with my friends Rose and Tony from RetroCon. In fact, the first item that I picked up was actually the Mattel Creations Camo Con. My buddy Tony was able to score an extra one of these when they went up for pre-sale, and he told me he'd sell it to me, so I picked that up from him at that show. The artwork on the back's pretty cool. It's got a lot of those pre-Turnia characters on it, which is pretty neat. So if you don't know much about Camo Con, he is a Motu character. It's Cobra Khan with pincher arms instead of like regular monster arms, and he has like a camouflage paint scheme. It's actually a variant that came from South America. It wasn't an American release, and they've kind of done a tribute to it in Motu Classics as a con exclusive and as a Motu Creations for Motu Origins. One of the first things I saw at the show was the TMNT news van. Always a cool toy to see. This one was pretty stripped. It did have one side mirror with the camera on it. Those pieces are hard to find. This is a rough place to start building from. But I thought it was worth pointing out. I already have the turtle van, the news van, so I didn't have to worry about this. I was blown away by the one vendor's selection of Titan Heroes superheroes. These are the large, like 12-inch superheroes with kind of limited paint apps and limited articulation that are really popular with kids. My stepsons were really into these for a while, and I was just blown away by this guy's selection. He also had a ton of little bins to dig through. I actually picked up two things from that vendor. In his turtle bin, I found a cartoon Michelangelo. This one is the figure that's kind of more based on the cartoon look, but has like a wacky feature. So this one actually has like a tongue sticking out feature, which is a better feature for a frog character than a turtle. But these guys are cool, the Toon Turtles, and I couldn't leave them behind for the price. The other thing I picked up from that same vendor was a Burger King or McDonald's Snake Eyes toy. He raises his arms when you push a button on his back. I don't know if he came with like an accessory, because he kind of has handles. It would be cool if he, like, pulled swords out of his backpack when he did that. I don't know what happens with this exactly, what the original accessories were. I'll have to look that up. But, again, it's like a weird novelty G.I. Joe thing. I couldn't leave it behind. There was a sealed Sectaurs hand puppet insect thing, and I just was blown away by that. Sectaurs is a really funky line. It didn't last real long. It's had a couple of modern revivals, but without the stuff that makes it really cool, like the hand puppet spidery fly bad guy and good guy hand puppets. So to see one carded was pretty neat. I was rummaging through some other bins and came across a Dr. No figure from James Bond Jr. James Bond Jr. is a cartoon show and toy line that I would love to do an episode about. I would love to talk about the James Bond Jr. toy line, so I've been slowly collecting a lot of those figures. I didn't buy this Dr. No because he's missing a fist, but in the same bins, I did find Winters, Maxwell Winters, is that his name? Max Winters, the bad guy from the TMNT animated movie. I picked this guy up because Tony from Hack the Movies and I were going to be doing an episode about the Ninja Turtles movies, and I didn't have a lot to represent TMNT, so I picked this guy up. We actually just released that episode on Hack the Movies, and there's also a Patreon video talking about some of these movie toys on my Patreon. So that was kind of a fun little thing. This toy show was probably a couple months ago, and I just got busy with, something that was more relevant, I thought, in the moment, or some of the bigger videos I'm doing, like the videos with Tony. So I never got around to showing off this stuff from this toy show. So some of this stuff I've sat on for a little while, and like I said, this guy was featured in another video. One of the vendors had a ton of TMNT puzzles, which I thought was pretty cool. I like all those ancillary licensed products. I saw masks, paper dolls, lots of modern Migos, and all kinds of monster models. This show had some really interesting stuff. There was these large-scale Batman, Robin, and Joker figures that looked fantastic. I remember seeing them as a kid, but I can't remember where. I don't know anybody that had them, but I must have seen them at retail. I feel like maybe at a video store or something I saw them as a kid, or someplace at the mall that I didn't visit often. Toy Cantina was at the show. They're actually like a fairly local toy store to me, so it's always good to see those guys at shows. Mystic Knights of Tir na Nog. This was like the cheapest of cheap attempt at doing a Power Rangers type show. It's kind of up there with like the tattooed teenagers from outer space or Beverly Hills, whatever that show is called. Just really bad shows that were trying to cash in on that, and I couldn't believe how many toys they had. I probably should have bought these because we could do an episode about that show, but I didn't think it was worth the investment. Star Wars stained glass makers. Did you guys have these as a kid? You put the little metal frame on a cookie sheet and you sprinkle in the little crystals and you bake it in the oven. The crystals melt and turn into like the colored portions of a sun catcher. They don't do these kind of toys anymore. Now kids just get terrible paint to try and paint the details in on these kind of things on already melted plastic. I thought that was cool to see. So cool that I picked it up. There are Gamorrean Guard, R2-D2, Jabba the Hutt, and Darth Vader versions. The Vader one seemed a little bit weird. Like, there's not enough definition to make it interesting, and the Jabba the Hutt one was real bizarre, and he didn't have the Gamorrean Guard, I don't think. So R2 was the one I picked up. It's neat to have a carded sample of something like this. It's such a retro toy, so I plan to display this hanging up. I had a Donald Duck, one of these as a kid, that the foot didn't quite fill in right. Like, there weren't enough crystals, or they leaked out from underneath the frame because it was slightly bent or something weird. Mixed results, but I do remember doing these or watching people do these when I was a kid. I had to laugh at this Star Wars head swap. There's a Cloud Car pilot on an Imperial officer, and if you did like a custom paint job, it would actually look pretty good as like a Death Star commander figure. I mean, you have the goggles, which is a little odd, but I think it would be totally excusable. There were some impressively cool high-dollar Star Brigade figures there. One of the aliens and effects and Space Shot. You don't see these guys too often carded or loose, so I figured they were worth mentioning. And overall, the show just had a lot of fun things to find, including adventure people. You don't see big lots of them in their vehicles too often. I actually had this plane as a kid, but it didn't have any of the stickers on it. I bought it at a yard sale. But it was fun and very manageable in size. Like, the G.I. Joe Sky Striker is really big to carry around as a kid. But this was, like, really easy to kind of maneuver and play with. There was a custom-painted dewback. And it's not a real great job, but I did find it interesting because the dewback has, like, these sculpted-on, like, feather or fur or something going on it. Like, details that you never notice in the movie. But somebody painted it in green. I thought that was kind of funny. It was worth documenting. I saw some cool vinyl monsters, Puffy Monster stickers, some K'NEX. You guys remember K'NEX? And like a Tony Hawk skateboard figure. I don't know. Just, I had a lot of fun at this show, seeing a lot of things I hadn't seen in a while. One other toy that I thought was interesting to mention was there was a Hook role-play sword from the Peter Pan Hook movie with Robin Williams. And I have a feeling that this was a reaction to the New Adventures of He-Man sword. Now, I didn't check the dates of when those things came out, but the New Adventures of He-Man, like, light-up sword that made noises was, like, the best-selling product from that line and actually, like, made Mattel hit, like, profit margins that it needed to hit for that year. It was, like, the only successful product out of that whole line. So it made me wonder, like, did they make this Hook sword because they were trying to, like, recreate that financial windfall? I don't know. Other things I picked up at the show, I got this cannon with the siren light. This goes on the back of a Cops and Crooks toy from Hasbro, like a blue squad car. And this is made out of gold plastic. And if you know much about old toys, gold plastic is brittle and breaks very easy. And I did not have one of these in complete condition, like with both handlebars on it. And this was like $1 on somebody's table. They probably didn't know what it was from either, but I snatched that up. I got a Destro. This is from 97, I think. This is with the the reissue era. So this was the 1993 Destro in some new colors with a nice chromy head, which I think they should have done in 93, given him the chrome head. So I bought this to either put this chrome head on another copy of 93 Destro, or I might custom paint this guy to be my own Pimp Daddy Destro. This is the body that the Pimp Daddy Destro was painted in. The collar and these thigh pads had the leopard prints on just a few versions that were released, a few copies early released. And then they dropped those apps to go with just this paint scheme. I got the Gold Ranger from Power Rangers Zeo. I really like this style figure. This was a like sort of anniversary series where they did a lot of Red Rangers and Gold Rangers, or Red Rangers and Six Rangers, all sort of in the same scale. And they were really fun figures. So I picked him up, but I have since started like culling the herd and thinning my Power Ranger collection. So I don't know. This might have been a bad choice, but he's still a fun figure. I got some Thundercats invitations, 8-party invitations. These were copyrighted 1985. It's got that classic artwork that sort of feels a little bit pre-production-y, with the dark background with Cat's lair sort of in tan, and most of the characters on there. It's a cool piece of artwork, and I love these kind of like party favorite things. It's even unpunched. So, picked that up from my buddy Ed Rents. Very happy to have that. The last two things that I might have picked up at that show came from my buddy Will. He's a vendor that I see at the shows all the time. And he had some characters from Beetlejuice. Here's Ortho. See if I can get Ortho to do his little... Whoa! His head just went flying across the room. Whoops. So he kind of has like a screaming head. And I got Alex Baldwin. Why he's wearing a hat, the world may never know. His head can slide down... His head can slide down a track on his arm here. You can also put a mask on his head to make him be the weird, gross, version of himself when he's trying to scare away the people. Both of these guys came with their little companions. Some little Beetlejuice-faced, bugs and things like that. Oh, and I noticed I have some additional accessories in this bag. I forgot I picked this stuff up. Here's a Bucky O'Hare blaster. Star Brigade rock and roll armor tech helmet. Another Bucky O'Hare blaster. This is for, one of the other characters. I got the Ravishing Reporter April camera accessory. And a time bomb from Cops and Crooks. So the accessories, extra accessories that I bought, I forgot I stuck them in this bag because it was early on in the show and I just need to carry them around. I got them really, really inexpensively. I was really happy to kind of dig these out of a bin. Obviously the person who was selling them didn't know what they'd go to, didn't really, want to take the time to try and do the research. It's easier to, just sell it quick and make a couple bucks than investing the time. And I love that at toy shows. I love digging through bins to find, pieces here and there that I need for my collection. Collecting to me is a marathon, not a sprint. So I always enjoy, finding the main thing and then adding the accessories to it versus paying top dollar to have it complete right away. There's lots of things I do buy that way, but my collection is as big as it is because a big chunk of it I bought in that yard sale kind of mode and toy show kind of mode of slowly building a complete item. Overall, Toy Dome was a fun time. It was great getting to hang out with some of my friends, see some of the vendors that I know. Enjoying the nostalgia of being out around these kind of collectibles. It's a little bit of a drive from where I'm at, but not terrible. And, all in all, it was a good day out. Next up, I've got new to the collection. And the first thing I want to show you guys, I picked up off of Instagram. There's a guy called the Cape Master. I'm sure you can find him on Instagram. And he sells capes for action figures. And he actually is making replacement capes for those early McFarlane Superpowers figures. We all remember back a little while the real plasticky capes that had the holes in them from the little plastic tag that went through them. He has actual nice clothy capes for these Superpowers guys. So I got a Batman cape for my Batman. I love it. I could not find my Superman. He's around here somewhere. But I got him a cape. Same kind of clothy fabric. It's got the S on it and everything. This looks fantastic. Really nice upgrade. I also got a reproduction cape for Serpentor. Now, this does not look like a real Serpentor cape. Like, if you know much about G.I. Joe, if you've seen a real Serpentor, you're going to know this isn't the real one. But this is a pretty nice proxy. I'm not a big fan of reproduction stuff, but in this case where I can't find a nice cape for my Serpentor and I want to be able to display it, and even if I did find a nice one, I might not actually put it on him. I felt like it was okay to grab this, just like these are like real upgrades for the character, and they're not even going on figures that are ever going to be worth anything. Anyway, in their case, because they're, mass-produced, mass-release modern toys. But I like his product. He's done some other stuff for bigger figures with like the wire in them and things like that. Overall, seemed like a cool guy. He threw in a Pokemon card for me, Vulpix, in the envelope. I do have to be honest, though, the shipping was slow. Like, I ordered these a while ago, and then I had to follow up. I don't know if that's the norm, or something was going on with my particular order, or something was going on with him. But I just want to put that out there. Love the product. Delivery was a little slow. Just arrived today before shooting. I got the new Motu Origins Spikor. Spikor is part of the Snake Man wave. The Fading Fortress is the name of the mini-comic. It shows off Squeeze, Snake Armor Infiltrator, Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms, and Spikor on the back. I haven't ordered quite everybody in the last few waves. They dumped so many characters. I was trying to get those, like, vintage figures, because that's sort of what I've been collecting, as well as, like, really cool stuff. So I did pass on the Snake Man Infiltrator, because I don't really care. I know they did, like, a Snake Man Palace Guard head in Classics, and I never put that on any of the Palace Guards, and I have a bunch of them. It just doesn't appeal to me that much. But Spikor and the Serpent Claw Man-at-Arms, because there's something special there, Squeeze, I think are pretty cool. I'd say the biggest disappointment here is that you don't get the action feature. You do get an elbow that bends, which is nice. It's funny to me also, they didn't make this just like you disconnect both ends and replug it in. They gave him a separate hand that is the connector and the spike together. I also think maybe it's a missed opportunity he didn't come with a regular hand. In the Filmation cartoon, he didn't have the trident. He just had a normal hand. So that's him with it retracted. He is nice and spiky. Spikor is just a fun character. And he also comes with his mace. I recently did a short. I've been experimenting with YouTube shorts, and I did a short where I showed off color blanks, which are these, like, vinyl figures that you get to, like, draw on. And there's a blue one with spikes all over it, and I turned that one into a Spikor of sorts. I really probably should have painted him more or drawn on him more, because Spikor is more purple than blue. But I had done somewhere I colored every part, and the marker would, like, unless you really let it dry, would get on your hands, and you'd accidentally smudge things. So I kind of went minimal marker on that Spikor. But when you look at the real Spikor with that one, you kind of notice, like, oh, it's neat, but it's not really right. But glad I got him. Wasn't planning on talking about Spikor, because I was really going to talk about the Skeleton Warriors here. These are glow-in-the-dark Skeleton Warriors from the Revelation show, and just a really cool idea. Like an awesome troop-building pack from Masters of the Universe. They come with an array of weapons, and one guy has purple armor, one guy has silver armor, but you can really build out an army. I actually bought 3 packs of these to have like a cool Skeleton Warrior army for Skeletor. My news item for this episode, the surprise winners from Hollywood's Summer of Toys, was an article talking about toys connected to movies, which I find very interesting. I'm a big movie fan, as well as being a toy collector. The article gives Ken's BFF Alan a mention. This doll from 1964 is a winner, of course. Those dolls shot up in value after the movie came out, with Alan having a funny, quirky, small part in the movie. I had previously talked about that on another episode of Pegwarmers. Paramount is toting there's over 400 licenses for Mutant Mayhem. So that means there's like 400 different things happening, whether that's vinyl figures, action figures, accessories, house goods, plushies. Like, that's an insane amount. So they're going to make some bank off of the merch. And a lot of these movies, that's a big factor. More so than how much does the box office take, how much merch do these kind of movies move? An original 1959 Barbie, that's the black and white bathing suit Barbie, recently sold for $20,000. So the impact of the Barbie movie on that collecting fandom is still being felt for sure. Transformers, another big winner from this summer with Beast Wars, has seen an 85% increase in sales since the last Transformers movie. Across the Spider-Verse is also mentioned for proving that Miles Morales is the most lucrative character created this century. I mean, you could argue that he's just Spider-Man, and Spider-Man wasn't created this century, but the Miles Morales version, that iteration, is a new modern character, and he's very popular, and it's kind of neat to see a new superhero be that popular. Kind of like, how Spawn was really popular in the 90s, but he wasn't as mass market popular as maybe Miles is, because Miles is very kid-friendly. And of course, everything Flash-related is down. Comics featuring the Flash are down in value. The toys are sitting around, becoming Pegwarmers quickly. That movie did not do what it was supposed to do for moving merch. In the comments down below, let me know what you thought of my pickups. What's your favorite thing I bought at Toy Dome? What do you think about this news article? Is it blasphemy that I bought a Serpentor cape? Let me know in the comments down below. If you enjoyed this video, hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, share this video with a toy collecting friend. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining the Patreon. And thanks for hanging on the peg with me.